In a world that thrives on noise where everyone is trying to make themselves heard, what if I told you that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all? What if your absence, your silence, could communicate more than words ever could? Have you ever been in a room full of people, yet felt more heard in your silence than you ever did when you spoke? Have you ever walked away from a conversation and later realized that your silence spoke louder than anything you could have said? Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of something far more powerful. We live in a world that is constantly moving, constantly talking, and constantly seeking validation. Noise fills our lives from social media notifications to endless conversations everywhere. You look, there's a rush to be heard, to be seen, to be noticed. But in the midst of all this noise, there's a subtle power that we often overlook, the power of silence. Silence, in a world obsessed with noise, is underrated. It's often mistaken for weakness, avoidance, or even indifference, but silence holds a unique strength. It's the kind of strength that isn't displayed through words or gestures. It's shown through absence, through restraint, through the decision to step back and allow the world to hear your actions instead of your voice. Have you ever walked away from a situation, from a relationship, or even from a conversation, only to realize that your silence in that moment spoke louder than anything you could have ever said? The truth is, there are times in life when the best thing you can do isn't to speak, but to stay silent and let the power of your presenter, your absencito, the talking. When was the last time you felt frustrated, misunderstood, or disrespected? Maybe you tried explaining yourself repeatedly, but the words fell flat. The more you tried to speak, the more the situation seemed to spiral out of control. In moments like these, silence can be the answer. There's a power in choosing not to engage in arguments, in not lowering your standards to match someone else's level of disrespect. By withdrawing and remaining silent, you are setting a boundary, signaling that you won't participate in the drama, and most importantly, that you value yourself enough not to waste energy where it's unappreciated. Think about the times when someone tried to provoke you, but you remained calm and composed, choosing not to react. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strength. You showed that their words couldn't shake you, that their opinions didn't define you. In those moments, your silence became your greatest weapon. It takes confidence to be silent in situations where others expect you to speak up. When you don't chase attention, when you don't feel the need to explain yourself constantly, it sends a powerful message. I know my worth, and I don't need to prove it. People who rely on constant validation from others often lack a sense of inner security. They need to keep talking to reaffirm their value, seeking approval in every corner. But those who understand the strength of silence understand that they are enough, as they are. They don't need to shout their worth. They simply live it. Their silence is the loudest proclamation of their self-assurance. Let's bring this closer to home. Think about relationships. Whether it's a friendship, family, or a romantic relationship, there are times when silence is the healthiest option. Silence doesn't always mean avoidance. It can mean reflection, self-awareness, and introspection. There are moments when you might feel exhausted from giving too much, from sacrificing your needs for others. And sometimes, the best way to communicate your boundaries is not through words, but through stepping back, withdrawing, and allowing the space to heal and realign your energies. Your silence isn't an ultimatum. It's a quiet message saying, I need time for myself, I need space to grow, and if you value me, you will respect that. In relationships, silence helps to bring clarity. It can help you think, evaluate, and decide the next steps without rushing into decisions fueled by emotions. Sometimes, when we speak too much, we can talk ourselves into things that don't serve us. But silence forces you to pause, to reflect, and ultimately, to make wiser decisions. Have you ever experienced a moment where your absence had more impact than your presence ever could? The power of absence is often underestimated. When you remove yourself from a situation, people begin to realize what they took for granted, what they never truly valued until it was no longer there. Your absence is a powerful statement of your value. It makes others take notice. It makes them realize that you are not someone who can be taken for granted. You are someone who can leave when necessary, and that is a position of strength. When you step away, you force others to acknowledge the void you leave behind. Silence is not simply the absence of sound, it is the presence of a message. It's the message that you know your worth and won't tolerate being treated as anything less. Imagine walking into a room filled with chatter, with noise, with people vying for attention. And now, imagine standing still, silent, undisturbed by the chaos around you. It's not that you are afraid of being heard, it's that you've realized you don't need to be heard all the time. Silence brings freedom, the freedom to be yourself without the pressure of pleasing others. It allows you to step away from the need to justify yourself, to defend your choices, or to explain your actions. You no longer feel the need to fill the space with words. And in that quiet, you can reflect, recharge, and discover what really matters to you. By embracing silence, you reclaim your personal power. You're no longer bound by the constant need to react or conform. You are free to stand tall, silent, and self-assured. When we talk about silence, it's easy to think of it as an absence of words, of noise, or of action. But in reality, silence is not an absence. It's a language of its own, often more powerful than the loudest declarations or most eloquent speeches. Why does silence carry so much power? The answer lies in its ability to leave space for deeper reflection, introspection, and understanding. In a world constantly bombarded with messages, opinions, and noise, silence offers a rare opportunity for clarity. It's in the moments of silence that we truly come to understand ourselves and others, allowing space for thoughts to settle, feelings to surface, and realizations to occur. Silence forces us to pay attention not just to what is said, but to what is unsaid. In communication, silence often holds a weight that words simply cannot match. Silence has a unique psychological effect. It compels people to reflect, interpret, and even question. It can be uncomfortable, unsettling, and yet, it can also be deeply comforting, like a quiet refuge in the chaos of life. Consider a scenario in a heated argument. If you're engaged in a back and forth, both speaking over each other, emotions are high, and it's easy for the real point to get lost in the noise. But if you decide to stay silent, even for a moment, something shifts. That silence creates a space for reflection. The absence of words gives weight to your presence, making the other person pause and reconsider their own words and actions. In this silence, they may come to realize something important. They might feel the weight of their own words, or the emotional distance created by the argument. Silence, in this context, becomes a tool for emotional control and reflection. It allows the other person to process the situation in a way they couldn't if you were just speaking constantly. When it comes to personal relationships, silence plays a crucial role. Sometimes, what we don't say speaks volumes about how we feel. Have you ever been in a situation where a simple silence between you and someone else said more than words ever could? Think about a time when you were upset, but instead of arguing or confronting someone immediately, you chose silence. That silence might have communicated your feelings more powerfully than any harsh words could have. Maybe it made the other person realize their mistake, or perhaps it made them question their actions. In either case, your silence created a powerful moment of understanding. On the other hand, silence can also be a powerful form of connection. Think about spending time with someone without feeling the need to fill every moment with conversation. The comfort of being with someone where silence doesn't feel awkward is a deep kind of connection. In these moments, it's as if your souls are communicating without the need for words. The quiet becomes a bridge between two people, a sign of mutual understanding that goes beyond the surface-level chatter. In professional environments, silence can be a game changer. Often, we're conditioned to think that in meetings or negotiations, we must always speak up, fill in the gaps, and make our presence known with words. But, sometimes, the most strategic move is to remain silent. Think about negotiations. The power of silence is often used as a psychological tactic. When you stay silent after making a point or asking a question, the other party is left with the pressure to speak and respond. This creates a situation where the other person may reveal more than they intended, or feel the need to fill the space with information they would have otherwise kept to themselves. Silence can give you control in such situations. When you withhold your words, the dynamics shift, and you're no longer just reacting to others. You become a powerful force in the conversation, allowing the other person to do the work of filling the silence, often revealing more than they intended. Silence also plays an essential role in our journey towards self-awareness. In a world that constantly demands our attention, it's rare to find moments where we can be truly alone with our thoughts. Yet, it's in these moments of solitude that we come face to face with our own emotions, fears, desires, and uncertainties. Self-reflection often requires silence. When we are alone in silence, we have the opportunity to tune out the noise of external opinions and listen to our inner voice. It's only when we allow ourselves to sit in silence that we can truly hear our own thoughts and assess our feelings without distraction. In a society that encourages constant productivity and social interaction, taking time for silence is an act of resistance, resisting the constant pull to be busy, to be social, and to be on. Instead, silence gives us the opportunity to slow down and listen to the most important voice in our lives, our own. Many of the most significant moments of personal growth happen not when we're talking, but when we're silent. Think about the times in your life when you've been at a crossroads, uncertain about what to do next. In those moments, silence often serves as a guide. Instead of rushing to make a decision, you may have taken time to sit with your feelings, allowing yourself to reflect deeply without external distractions. It is in this silence that clarity often emerges, helping you make decisions that align with your true desires and values. In fact, growth itself is often a quiet process. It happens in the small moments of reflection, in the pauses between actions, in the silent acknowledgement of our own progress. Growth is not always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's a slow, quiet shift that happens when we're not looking for it. Finally, the most transformative power of silence lies in its ability to create changement, just in the people around us, but in ourselves. Silence has the power to transform conflict into resolution, confusion into clarity, and noise into peace. When we choose silence, we are giving ourselves and others the space to grow, to process, and to understand. For instance, during a conflict, instead of escalating the situation with words, staying silent can create room for both parties to cool down, reflect, and understand each other's perspective. When silence is used strategically, it becomes a transformative tool for resolution and healing. In a world where talking is often seen as the key to influence, listening is the true art that many fail to appreciate. While speaking allows us to express our thoughts, listening enables us to understand the thoughts and feelings of others. When combined with the power of silence, listening transforms communication into a more meaningful and impactful exchange. Listening, when done in silence, becomes a powerful tool for connection. But before we delve into the connection between silence and listening, let's first understand why listening is such an undervalued skill in our society. When people think of communication, they typically think of speaking, but listening is equally, if not more, important. We live in a time where everyone is talking, sharing opinions, and broadcasting their thoughts. With the rise of social media, everyone's voice is heard, but often, no one is listening. In such a noisy world, we fail to realize that true listening is far more impactful than simply speaking. Listening doesn't mean just hearing what the other person is saying. It involves actively processing the information, understanding its meaning, and responding with empathy. It's about connecting with the speaker on a deeper level, understanding their emotions, needs, and perspectives. But to do this, we need silence, the kind of silence that allows us to truly absorb what the other person is saying without distractions. Active listening requires focused attention and an intentional effort to understand the speaker. Silence is crucial to this process because it creates space for us to concentrate fully on the other person. Imagine you're in a conversation with someone, and instead of responding immediately with your thoughts, you take a moment to fully absorb their message. This silence is not awkward, it's the pause that allows you to process their words carefully before formulating a thoughtful response. In this moment of silence, you are not just passively waiting for your turn to speak. You are actively engaged in the conversation, giving the speaker the time and space they need. This kind of deliberate silence demonstrates respect and shows that you value the other person's opinion. It's in these moments of pause that you develop a deeper connection with the speaker. In professional settings, this can be incredibly powerful. When you let someone speak without interrupting, when you pause after they've finished to let the message sink in, you convey to them that their words matter. This act of silence during listening allows you to better comprehend their ideas and respond in a more meaningful way. When we choose to be silent while someone else speaks, we are essentially giving them the floor. This act of silence sends a powerful psychological message. It communicates that you're not only hearing them, but that you are deeply engaged in the conversation. This encourages the speaker to open up more, which can lead to a richer, more productive dialogue. For example, think about a time when you were speaking to someone and they were constantly interrupting or waiting to respond before you had finished your thoughts. How did that make you feel? Likely, it felt like the person was more focused on speaking than truly understanding you. Now, consider the opposite, a time when you were speaking to someone who listened intently, allowing moments of silence between sentences and responding thoughtfully. In this scenario, you probably felt more heard and respected, which created a stronger emotional connection and trust. Silence during listening creates space for empathy. When you don't rush to speak, you can tune into the speaker's emotions, body language, and underlying feelings. It allows you to connect on a deeper level and respond not just with words, but with genuine understanding and empathy. Silence doesn't always mean complete absence of sound. It can also refer to nonverbal communication, the way we communicate through our presence, body language, and facial expressions while someone else is speaking. Nonverbal communication in silence conveys powerful messages that words often cannot. When you listen without speaking, you become more aware of the speaker's emotions. Are they frustrated, happy, anxious, or excited? In the silence, you can notice the subtle shifts in their voice, posture, or eye contact. This ability to pick up on nonverbal cues is an essential part of effective listening. For example, in a meeting, if a colleague is speaking passionately about a project and you remain silent, your body language nodding, leaning in slightly, maintaining eye contact signals to them that you are fully engaged in the conversation. These nonverbal signals make the speaker feel valued, which encourages them to communicate more openly and transparently. In this sense, silence is not a passive state, it is an active form of engagement that enhances your presence in a conversation. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, manage, and navigate your own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. One key component of emotional intelligence is the ability to listen and respond with empathy. Silence plays a critical role in building emotional intelligence because it gives you time to observe and process the emotions of others. When you allow someone to speak without interrupting, you're providing them with space to express their feelings fully. This not only demonstrates empathy, but also helps you respond in a way that is sensitive to their emotions. In emotionally charged situations, silence gives you the opportunity to reflect on your own emotional state and ensure that your response is thoughtful, measured, and supportive. This is especially important in leadership roles. Leaders who master the art of listening with silence are more likely to build trust, foster collaboration, and create an environment where their team feels comfortable expressing their concerns. By remaining silent during these interactions, leaders show respect for their team's ideas, which fosters loyalty and motivation. In both professional and personal relationships, trust is the foundation of communication. Silence can play a powerful role in building trust. When you listen without judgment, without interrupting, and without rushing to respond, you create a safe space for open communication. This allows others to feel understood and respected. For instance, in a personal relationship, if your partner is upset and you choose to listen in silence, it shows that you are there for them, ready to understand their feelings without immediately offering solutions or judgments. This act of silent listening can lead to greater emotional intimacy and a stronger bond between you and the other person. In the workplace, the same principle applies. Leaders who take the time to listen in silence, giving employees space to express their concerns or ideas, build trust and rapport with their team. This leads to improved communication, enhanced cooperation, and a positive work culture. Difficult conversations are often the most challenging, whether they're with a colleague, a friend, or a family member. In these conversations, emotions tend to run high, and it can be difficult to know how to respond. This is where silence becomes a powerful tool. Instead of jumping in with immediate responses, silence can help you manage your emotions and prevent you from saying something you might regret later. It gives you the time you need to carefully consider your words, ensuring that your response is thoughtful, measured, and compassionate. Moreover, the other person may also need time to process their thoughts. By remaining silent, you allow them to reflect on what they're saying, which can lead to a more productive and less confrontational conversation. In a world that thrives on instant gratification, impulsive actions, and emotional outbursts, the ability to maintain self-control and embrace silence becomes a true display of inner strength. Silence is often misinterpreted as weakness or passivity, but in reality, it is the ultimate act of power. Self-control is not about suppressing emotions or ignoring conflicts, it is about choosing to respond, rather than reacting impulsively. In silence, you command respect, cultivate peace, and maintain control over your own emotions and actions. One of the most common misconceptions about silence is that it signifies weakness. We live in a world where loud voices, public declarations, and bold actions often receive the most attention. The louder you are, the more likely people are to listen. But the loudest voice is not always the most powerful one. In fact, it is often those who remain calm, poised, and silent in challenging situations who possess the greatest strength. In many situations, when we are faced with conflict, frustration, or anger, the instinct is to respond immediately, to speak our mind, and make our point known. But self-control, the ability to remain silent when every urge is telling you to speak, is not only a show of maturity, but also a sign of emotional intelligence and personal strength. Choosing silence in these moments demonstrates that you are in control of your emotions and actions, and you do not need to prove your worth with words or anger. True power comes from within, and silence is often the clearest reflection of inner peace. When you can maintain silence in the face of chaos, it indicates that your mind is clear, your thoughts are composed, and your emotions are in check. You no longer need to react impulsively because you are secure in your ability to stay grounded, no matter what is happening around you. People who are constantly agitated, argumentative, or quick to respond are often driven by external factors, such as fear, insecurity, or ego. They are controlled by the situation. But when you can choose to be silent, even in difficult moments, you demonstrate that you are the one in control. Your silence speaks volumes about your ability to handle situations with grace, dignity, and strength. Self-control is a skill that can be developed over time. It requires conscious effort to resist the urge to speak or react impulsively. But when you choose silence, you are taking control of your emotions and behavior. In moments of anger, frustration, or stress, silence becomes your greatest tool for maintaining self-control. Imagine a scenario where you are confronted with criticism or an accusation. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself, to explain your actions, or to justify your decisions. But in that moment of silence, you allow yourself time to process the situation, to understand the other person's perspective, and to choose a response that is thoughtful and measured. This is the essence of self-control. Self-control is not about suppressing your emotions. It is about choosing how you will respond to those emotions. Silence gives you the space to make that decision wisely. It allows you to take a step back, reflect, and then decide how you want to proceed. It is in this moment of pause that true strength is revealed. Criticism is one of the most difficult things to endure, especially when it feels unjust or personal. Our natural response is to defend ourselves, to explain why we did what we did, or to point out the flaws in the critic's reasoning. But silence, in this situation, is a true display of power. When you remain silent in the face of criticism, you show that you are not easily shaken by other people's opinions. You do not feel the need to prove yourself, and you are secure enough in your own worth to simply listen and process the feedback without reacting emotionally. This is not to say that silence means accepting criticism passively or that you should never speak up. Instead, silence in these moments gives you the power to choose your response wisely. It allows you to remain calm, think clearly, and respond in a way that is grounded in wisdom and not fueled by emotion. Silence can be a strategic way to control the conversation and shift the focus away from emotional reactions to rational discussion. When you do speak, your words will carry more weight because you have taken the time to respond thoughtfully, not impulsively. In leadership, the ability to remain calm and composed is essential. Leaders are constantly faced with challenges, conflict, and difficult decisions. How they respond in these moments speaks volumes about their leadership abilities. Leaders who are quick to react or who speak too frequently can be perceived as unpredictable or emotionally unstable. But a leader who knows when to remain silent, who can listen more than they speak, and who can stay composed under pressure is a leader who earns respect. Their silence communicates confidence, control, and emotional intelligence. Great leaders understand that silence can be a tool for strategic decision-making. Rather than rushing to offer solutions or make decisions in the heat of the moment, they take the time to think, reflect, and assess the situation. This gives them the clarity to make decisions that are well-informed and aligned with their values and goals. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to help us regulate our emotions. In times of stress, anger, or frustration, silence acts as a barrier against impulsive reactions. It gives us time to cool down, collect our thoughts, and process our emotions before responding. Emotional regulation is an important skill for personal well-being and success. When you can control your emotions, you are better able to handle stress, communicate effectively, and make rational decisions. Silence is an essential part of emotional regulation. It gives us the time and space we need to make choices that align with our values and goals. For example, in a high-pressure situation at work, if you feel yourself becoming frustrated or overwhelmed, a moment of silence can help you regain control of your emotions. Instead of reacting in anger or panic, you take a step back, breathe, and allow yourself time to calm down. This is how silence can help you navigate your emotions and make thoughtful, well-considered decisions. Ultimately, silence is a sign of confidence. It is the confidence to know that you do not need to constantly prove yourself or defend your actions. It is the confidence to stay calm in the face of adversity and make decisions based on clarity, not emotion. People who are truly confident in their abilities do not feel the need to speak constantly or be the center of attention. They are secure enough to let their actions and presence speak for themselves. Silence is not about insecurity. It is about being so grounded in your own power that you do not need to fill every moment with words. In a society where noise, chatter, and attention-grabbing tactics dominate, silence is an often overlooked yet highly effective tool. Imagine a scenario where someone speaks without truly saying anything meaningful and someone else stands in quiet composure. Which one do you respect more? The person who is able to remain silent while others speak seems to wield a subtle, almost intangible power. That's because silence, when used correctly, becomes a weapon of influence and authority. You might wonder how silence can be used as a weapon. In a world where words are constantly exchanged, where everyone is vying for attention, the ability to hold back your words and choose when to speak allows you to control the narrative. Silence becomes a tool not of weakness, but of strategic strength. It commands respect in a way that talking never could. As we look at great leaders throughout history, one common thread that runs through them is their ability to remain composed, measured, and often silent in moments of conflict. This is because they understand a key principle. Words lose their impact when they are overused. But silence is powerful precisely because it is so rare and intentional. When leaders remain silent, especially in moments of tension, they convey that they do not need to fill every silence with empty words. Their silence makes people pay attention when they do speak, as their words have been filtered through careful consideration. In meetings, discussions, or high-stress situations, silence can be used to assert authority. A quiet leader doesn't have to shout to make a point. Instead, they use silence as a way to give others the floor, observe body language, and allow people to speak before they make their own input. This strategic approach ensures that when they do choose to speak, their words are more impactful. For example, a CEO in a business meeting who does not immediately offer their opinion when the team presents ideas may appear reserved, but in reality, they're allowing others to voice their thoughts fully. Their silence allows for careful observation, creating a sense of mystery and authority. When they speak, it's with authority, and their words carry weight because they've taken the time to understand everyone's perspective. This is how silence becomes an influential tool of respect. The principle of using silence to gain respect extends beyond leadership in professional settings. In personal relationships, silence can act as a powerful signal of boundaries, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. Think about a situation where someone has crossed a line, whether through disrespectful words, an unappreciated action, or an accusation. Your immediate instinct might be to react defensively, shouting, arguing, or justifying your actions. But silence in this situation communicates that you do not need to justify yourself. By holding your peace, you show the other person that their words and actions don't control your emotional state. You maintain authority over your emotions, and they must reckon with your composure and strength. This kind of silence is not passive. It is an active exercise of self-discipline, one that signals that you are above petty conflicts or emotional outbursts. It creates space for the other person to reflect on their words and behaviors. Instead of getting drawn into an unnecessary argument, you simply choose not to engage in the chaos. This strategic silence forces others to pause and reconsider their actions. For example, in a heated argument with a partner, rather than firing back with an equally sharp response, you remain silent and wait for the tension to settle. This gives the other person the space to reflect on the situation, and when you eventually speak, your words are far more powerful because they're not clouded by anger or emotion. Your silence speaks louder than any words could have. In conflict resolution, the less you say, the more authority you have. When faced with a disagreement or challenge, especially in the heat of the moment, your words can often escalate the situation. However, silence has the unique ability to de-escalate. Think about how silence functions in heated arguments. When both sides are at their emotional peak, the words spoken can often escalate tensions. However, choosing to be silent at this point can lower the emotional temperature. It gives both parties the time to think, cool down, and process. It creates space for resolution without the interference of unnecessary verbal exchanges. For example, In a situation where you are arguing with a colleague or friend, remaining silent for a few moments allows both of you to step back and reassess the situation with a clearer mind. Rather than contributing to the fire, silence becomes the cooling balm that creates the opportunity for productive dialogue. It gives both parties a chance to reflect on the bigger picture rather than being consumed by temporary emotions. By staying silent, you also prevent yourself from saying things you may regret. Many times, words spoken in anger are damaging and can be hard to take back. The silence not only stops you from saying hurtful things, but also gives the other person time to reconsider their words and actions. Silence also plays a key role in social dynamics, the way we navigate group settings, friendships, and our interactions with strangers. Have you ever been in a conversation where you're speaking with someone who dominates the discussion? They talk over you, cut you off, or don't give you a chance to express your thoughts. It's frustrating, isn't it? Now imagine instead of fighting for your voice, you choose to remain silent. Initially, this might seem like you're giving up your power, but in truth, you're claiming it. By choosing not to fill every space with chatter, you gain control of how much power you give away to others. You aren't at the mercy of social expectations. You are calmly and silently choosing when to engage and when to withdraw. This strategic silence forces others to give you the attention you deserve. The longer you stay silent, the more they realize that you won't simply speak to fill the void. You become more intriguing, and others will respect you for the power in your silence. You don't feel the need to talk just to be noticed, and this control over your responses naturally attracts respect. One of the most powerful impacts of silence is the way it enhances your perceived value. In a world where everyone is constantly vying for attention, people who stay silent have an air of mystery and intrigue about them. The less you speak, the more others want to listen to what you have to say. This principle is well known in sales, marketing, and business negotiations. The more you talk, the more you reveal about yourself and your intentions. However, when you remain silent, people fill in the blanks with their own assumptions. They assume you have more to say, that you're hiding something valuable, or that you're in a position of authority. For example, during a negotiation, if you've made your point but then remain silent, the other party will be left wondering if you're holding out for something better. The silence leads them to believe you are in control of the situation. They will be more likely to offer something better just to fill the gap left by your silence. In our fast-paced, constantly connected world, moments of quiet reflection are rare. We are often so caught up in the hustle of daily life, answering emails, attending meetings, responding to messages, that we rarely give ourselves the chance to pause and truly reflect on our lives, our actions, and our inner selves. But silence holds a powerful key to self-discovery, self-improvement, and understanding our true worth. It is within the quiet moments that we find clarity and insight into who we really are. When we choose silence, we allow ourselves to step away from external distractions and tune into our inner voice. In these moments, we can ask ourselves important questions like, what do I truly value? What do I want from life? Am I living in alignment with my goals? Silence gives us the space to confront these questions head-on without the influence of others or the noise of daily demands. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to increase self-awareness. In the quiet, we are no longer distracted by the opinions of others, social media, or external noise. We become more attuned to our emotions, thoughts, and desires, which leads to a deeper understanding of who we are. Think of it like a still pond. When the surface is calm and undisturbed, you can see clearly into the depths, but when the water is choppy and full of distractions, the clarity is lost. In the same way, silence allows us to see clearly into our inner world. In moments of silence, we often come face to face with our true feelings, whether it's a fear we've been avoiding, a goal we've neglected, or a part of ourselves we've ignored. By embracing silence, we give ourselves the space to process these emotions and gain clarity on what matters most to us. It's like hitting the reset button for your mind and soul, allowing you to realign with your deepest values and desires. This self-awareness that arises from moments of quiet reflection is crucial for personal growth. It helps us recognize the patterns in our behavior, understand why we react the way we do, and make conscious choices about how we move forward. By regularly taking time to be silent and reflect, we build a more authentic and grounded version of ourselves. In our society, there's often pressure to seek validation from external sources, whether it's from our peers, our bosses, or social media followers. We are constantly measuring our worth by the standards set by others. However, Silence has the power to help us break free from this cycle and find validation within ourselves. When we are silent, we are not seeking external approval. Instead, we are able to ask ourselves important questions like, do I feel fulfilled with what I'm doing? Am I proud of my actions and choices? Am I truly happy with the direction my life is taking? Silence allows us to validate ourselves rather than waiting for others to do it for us. This process of self-validation is incredibly empowering. It helps us develop a strong sense of self-worth that isn't reliant on others' opinions. When we find value within ourselves, we stop looking for it in external sources, and we become more confident in our choices, actions, and decisions. Another key aspect of silence is its ability to help us clarify our goals and ambitions. In the busyness of life, we can often lose sight of our true goals as we become overwhelmed by daily tasks and obligations. Silence provides us with the opportunity to reflect on our dreams and aspirations without the distractions that often cloud our judgment. Taking time to be quiet allows us to ask ourselves the important question, what do I want to achieve in life? Whether it's related to our career, relationships, or personal development, silence helps us connect with our authentic desires and ensures that we're working towards goals that truly resonate with who we are. For example, let's say you've been working hard in your career, but you've started to feel unfulfilled. In a quiet moment of reflection, you may realize that you've been chasing success defined by others like a prestigious title or salary rather than pursuing work that brings you genuine joy. The silence allows you to step back and reassess your priorities, ensuring that your goals are aligned with your true self. Once you clarify your goals in silence, it becomes easier to take actionable steps toward achieving them. You begin to prioritize what truly matters and eliminate distractions that do not contribute to your vision of success. This sense of clarity allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing that you are on a path that is deeply aligned with your personal values and ambitions. Silence also has a profound impact on our emotional well-being. In moments of pain, loss, or confusion, we often feel compelled to fill the silence with words, distractions, or even noise. However, silence offers a sanctuary for emotional healing, a space where we can process our emotions without judgment or interference. When we face difficult emotions, such as grief, sadness, or frustration, the natural instinct is often to talk about it, to seek comfort in others, or to distract ourselves from the pain. But in silence, we are given the time to process and understand our emotions on a deeper level. It's in these quiet moments that we can work through our feelings, acknowledge our hurt, and begin to heal from within. Silence also provides us with the space to let go of past emotional baggage. By taking the time to be quiet, we allow ourselves to release old wounds and negative emotions that may have been holding us back. This emotional release enables us to heal, grow, and step into a healthier version of ourselves, one that is free from the emotional weight of the past. Silence is a powerful tool for practicing mindfulness, the art of being present, and fully engaged in the moment. When we are silent, we are able to focus our attention on the present, without the distractions of the past or future. It allows us to be fully immersed in the here and now, which is essential for living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. In silence, we become more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. This mindfulness allows us to make more conscious decisions, respond thoughtfully to situations, and connect more deeply with ourselves and others. Silence is not just an absence of sound. It is an active force that can shape the course of our lives in remarkable ways. It's in these quiet moments that we often find our true strength. The power of silence lies not in its stillness, but in what it allows us to discover about ourselves and our surroundings. This is why silence is often regarded as the most profound form of communication that speaks louder than words and holds the power to transform our lives. When you embrace the power of silence, you begin to see the world around you in a different light. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of daily life, the endless stream of notifications, the constant chatter of social media, the pressure of keeping up with others. But the truth is, the more we fill our lives with noise, the less we can hear our own thoughts, desires, and needs. Silence offers us the chance to reconnect with what truly matters, to cut through the noise and find clarity in the midst of chaos. One of the most empowering things about silence is its ability to center us. In the rush of life, it's easy to lose sight of our goals, our values, and our purpose. The noise around us distracts us from our inner compass. But when we choose silence, we create space for reflection. It's in this space that we can assess where we are and where we want to go. The clarity that comes from embracing silence allows us to realign our actions with our true values and desires. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where, instead of speaking, you chose silence? Maybe you were in a heated argument, or someone was trying to provoke you, and rather than responding impulsively, you chose to remain quiet. That silence can often speak volumes. It is a reflection of your inner strength and emotional intelligence. Silence shows that you are not easily swayed by external circumstances or emotions. It demonstrates that you are in control of your responses, and in that control lies true power. One of the most transformative aspects of silence is its ability to help us develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage our emotions in positive ways. By choosing silence in emotionally charged situations, we allow ourselves the space to process our emotions before reacting. This leads to more thoughtful, measured responses that are in line with our values, rather than knee-jerk reactions driven by anger, fear, or frustration. In today's world, where instant gratification is often prioritized, it's easy to forget the value of patience. Silence teaches us the power of waiting, of allowing things to unfold in their own time. Just as a flower needs time to bloom, our ideas, our dreams, and our actions need the space to grow. Silence allows us to be patient, to wait for the right moment, and to trust that everything happens in its own time. When we are able to wait patiently, we build resilience. We learn that not every challenge requires an immediate response, and not every problem needs to be solved right away. Sometimes, the best course of action is to pause, to reflect, and to allow the solution to reveal itself. The ability to remain silent also allows us to listen more deeply. In our fast-paced world, we are often more focused on what we want to say next, rather than truly listening to the other person. But when we choose silence, we make space for others to speak, to share their thoughts and feelings without interruption. Active listening is a key component of building meaningful relationships, both personally and professionally. Silence fosters empathy and understanding. It shows that we value others' opinions, and that we are present with them in the moment. Silence also has the power to enhance our creativity. When we remove the distractions of the world, we create the mental space necessary for fresh ideas to emerge. Many of the world's greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators have credited their moments of quiet solitude as the birthplace of their most groundbreaking ideas. Whether it's taking a walk in nature, meditating, or simply sitting in silence, these moments allow our minds to wander freely and make new connections. By embracing silence, we allow our creative potential to flourish. It's important to recognize that silence is not a form of avoidance or weakness. It is an active choice that reflects strength, self-awareness, and emotional maturity. Silence is not about withdrawing or shutting others out. It is about giving yourself the space to think, to process, and to respond from a place of inner clarity. It is a deliberate choice to pause before acting, to breathe before reacting, and to observe before deciding. Now, think about your life. Where do you find yourself constantly seeking external validation? Where are you filling your life with unnecessary noise, seeking distractions to avoid confronting your true thoughts and feelings? This is the moment to make a shift. It's time to embrace the power of silence, not as a retreat from the world, but as a tool for growth, empowerment, and self-mastery. When you start to practice the art of silence, you'll notice that you respond more thoughtfully to challenges, make decisions with greater clarity, and cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections with those around you. The next time you feel overwhelmed, take a step back. Find a quiet space, whether it's in the middle of nature, in your home, or even just sitting in your car for a few moments. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and embrace the silence. Reflect on your goals, your values, and your emotions. Use this time to reconnect with your inner self. You may be surprised by the insights that emerge when you simply allow yourself the space to be still. In addition to self-reflection, silence can also be used as a tool for setting boundaries. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with requests, demands, and obligations, it's easy to become overwhelmed and drained, but silence can help us maintain control over our lives. By choosing to be silent in moments of overwhelm, we give ourselves permission to say no, to prioritize our well-being, and to establish healthy boundaries. Silence empowers us to take control of our time, energy, and emotions, ensuring that we are not constantly giving ourselves away to others at the expense of our own peace. It's important to remember that the power of silence is not only in the moments when we are alone. It's in how we use silence in our relationships, in our interactions with others, and in our professional lives. In every conversation, there is power in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. In every decision, there is power in pausing before acting. Silence is the foundation of emotional intelligence, creativity, self-awareness, and personal strength. As you move forward, I challenge you to embrace silence in your daily life. Start by carving out moments of stillness each day. Use these moments to reflect on your goals, to listen to your inner voice, and to process your emotions. The more you practice silence, the more you'll realize its incredible power to transform your life. You'll begin to feel more grounded, more confident, and more aligned with your true self. The next time you're faced with a challenging situation, resist the urge to react impulsively. Instead, take a deep breath, embrace the silence, and allow yourself the time and space to respond thoughtfully. This small shift can make all the difference in how you approach life's challenges and opportunities. Embrace the power of silence, and you'll find that it speaks louder than any words ever could. Embrace the power of silence today. Take a moment each day to pause, reflect, and reconnect with yourself, even if it's just for a few minutes. In the stillness, you'll discover clarity, strength, and the ability to make wiser decisions. Don't just listen to the noise around you, listen to your inner voice. Use silence as your tool for growth, communication, and power. Whether in your relationships, career, or personal journey, silence will help you respond with more grace, insight, and confidence. Let it be the force that shapes your actions and elevates your presence. The world will notice not just what you speak, but the profound strength in what you choose to leave unsaid. So, take this first step, today embrace silence, and let it transform your life in ways words never could.